Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, I pre-ordered this a little while back and now it has finally arrived. So today on the Build Studio, we're going to be unboxing and reviewing this all-new Neptune 4 Max 3D printer from Elegoo. Now I'm excited to finally get my hands on this massive 3D printer to see what we can come up with and what we can print. So we're going to quickly take you through the unboxing, the setup, and then test this thing out to see how well it works. So stay tuned and we'll check this thing out. Okay, so first things first, Elegoo is not sponsoring this video and they did not send me this unit to demo. I actually pre-ordered and paid for this printer with my own money. So that means I'm going to be reviewing and sharing with you my opinions on everything good and everything that I think can be better about this 3D printer. This is also my first 3D printer from Elegoo, so it'll be interesting to see how it compares to some of the other 3D printers that I have laying around the studio. Now if all goes well and this thing works out, I'm hoping that it won't be the last Elegoo product that I review in the studio. So fingers crossed. Now right off the bat, from a pricing perspective, I gotta say the $470 price tag is very impressive for what you get. However, unlike a lot of the other 3D printers that I have laying around, this one does not have an enclosure and is built using a sliding print bed rather than the print head moving across the XYZ axis when printing objects. Now when the printer was delivered, the packaging and the box that the Neptune 4 Max arrived in is pretty much just like most other 3D printers in that it's very well packaged and is protected by a bunch of styrofoam and padding. The box itself is mildly heavy and a lot smaller than a lot of the other 3D printers that I've received recently. Again, that is because this particular unit does not have an enclosure and requires some assembly. The printer itself is lighter, but like I mentioned, it's mildly heavy, which means that you should be able to carry and lift up the box on your own. Now the printer itself comes mostly assembled with the need to assemble the vertical upright bars where the print head is attached, as well as a few other things that you'll see later in this video. Now, when you open the box, you do get a bunch of different parts, which are either part of the assembly of the printer or the various accessories that can be used for printing. The good thing is everything is packaged very neatly, and because I only paid for the 3D printer itself, no filament was included with the package. Now, there is the option, however, to purchase either 1 or 2 filament bundles with the Neptune 4 Max. In fact, there's even a cutout in the packaging where I assume the 1 or 2 filament spools can fit. Now, when it comes to unboxing the printer, that was fairly straightforward. However, you do need to make sure that you check the packaging thoroughly so you don't miss out on any parts or accessories that might be hidden in the little crevices. Now, as I started unboxing the unit itself, the first thing that I noticed was that the base of the 3D printer is huge. In fact, it was so large that I had to set up a larger surface, which is here, in order to seat the printer on my unboxing table. So as you can see, I don't have the standard table that I usually unbox with. Now the printer itself is very large and looks very well built using various types of materials, including plastic, aluminum, and even a hard steel alloy in some areas. So as you can see, it is a very high quality product. Now, like most printers of today, it's got a magnetic single-sided textured build plate which can support a print volume of 420 by 420 by 480 millimeters, which is absolutely huge and the largest print volume of any printer that I've reviewed on this or any of my other channels so far. Now apparently this isn't the printer with the largest print volume that Elegoo has. That title belongs to the previous version, the Neptune 3 Max, which just barely beats this one with a slightly taller print height at 500 millimeters. Then aside from that, of course there's also Elegoo's new Orange Storm Giga 3D printer, which they practically just announced a Kickstarter for, that has an 800 by 800 by 1000 millimeter print volume, which makes it double the size of this Neptune 4 Max, but it does not have as fast of a print speed. So although this printer is large, it is definitely not the largest volume printer there is out there. Now speaking about print speeds, this Neptune 4 Max clocks in with a max printing speed of 500 millimeters per second. Now that makes this printer fast, but it definitely is not the fastest on the market. However, it's still remarkable since it's got both size and speed. Now, from a parts perspective, you do get these two tie rods which are used to reinforce the vertical assembly. You also get a very large assembly fan which is connected and installed on this horizontal access bar in order to provide additional cooling in case it's needed. Now not only is this fan super powerful, but what's nice about it is that you can manually turn it on and off using the switch on the top of the assembly itself. Now in addition to that, this printer also has this very nice and responsive LCD touchscreen, which you'll also need to install by connecting it to the phone-like jack on the front of this printer. It also connects to and sits on a tray, which is also something that you need to attach and comes disassembled in the packaging. Now the nice thing is that both the tray and the LCD screen have a magnetic backing so that it automatically attaches and affixes to the printer itself. Now when it comes to the other critical components, the print head itself also comes disassembled and needs to be installed on the vertical assembly, and it's also got built in a custom 0.4 millimeter print nozzle, which is nice. Lastly, you do also get a plastic spool holder which needs to be assembled as well, and then you also get a bag full of various accessories and additional parts, tools, and even a glue stick, which hopefully I won't have to use just because I'm not a big fan of glue sticks. Now, when it comes to assembly, it's pretty straightforward if you follow the instructions. And like I mentioned before, it pretty much comes almost completely pre-assembled. You really just need to connect and secure this vertical assembly to the printer base, connect a few wires and cables, install the print head, spool holder, auxiliary fan, and the LCD control panel, and it should be ready to go. Now, once the Neptune 4 Max was all set up, the first test print that I decided to do was the included Benchy, which is the standard file that I usually start with when I'm testing out a new 3D printer. Now, for most of the print jobs in this video, I decided to use a PLA silk filament that was sent to me by FixDry, who happens to be the sponsor for this portion of today's video. Now, overall, the test print went well, and it took a little under 18 minutes to complete, which is pretty much the average time it should take for a printer with this level of speed. Now I'm sure I can finish the print a lot faster, however that might also impact the quality. Now when it was printing, the printer itself was fairly quiet, and as you can see, this Benchy turned out almost perfect without any noticeable anomalies. I just love the way this thing looks and overall how it looks with the new FixDry filament. Now to be completely transparent, this wasn't the first try, and my first attempt did result in an adhesion issue where the print failed because the Benchy got knocked loose from the print bed near the end of the print. But that issue got resolved after I cleaned off the bed with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and as you can see, the second print turned out just fine. Now, as I mentioned previously, the printer itself is very quiet, especially compared to other 3D printers that I've got laying around in this studio. In fact, a lot of the noise that you're hearing or that you hear during the print job is actually coming from the fan itself. Now that being said, what's nice about this printer is that you do have the ability, like I mentioned previously, to manually switch on and off and increase the amount of air that the fan outputs to improve overall adhesion in more finicky print materials. In fact, the fan won't get much louder than it is right now while it's sitting in idle. However, if you do turn the fan on and turn it up manually, you can tell that it will get very much louder, when with that comes a lot more power and air circulation, which you probably won't use very often unless you're in extreme cases where you're having extreme issues with adhesion. But I don't see that happening a lot, and I myself haven't experienced that yet. So for the most part, this is going to run pretty quietly. Aside from the Benchy, for the second print, I decided to try another simple file that came on the included flash drive, which was this round plant holder. And as you can see, it turned out very nicely. In fact, the printer did an amazing job with the textured surface on the outer portion of the pot itself. I also love the amazing color transition of the multicolor filament as you rotate and look at the part from different angles. It turned out flawlessly perfect with no imperfections at all. Now, in addition to this pot, I also printed out this multicolor Buddha statue, which was also included on the flash drive that came with the printer. And it turned out very nice as well, with no flaws at all. And then, for my last test print, I decided to try something just a little bit more complicated, and I downloaded the single print multi-jointed robot from Thingiverse. Now, the robot itself turned out nicely, and I didn't have any issues with the moving joints or the robot. However, there were some layer shifts during the print job, which I noticed on both the feet and the chest and the face. However, I don't think that was an issue with the printer, and instead, it was probably an issue with the G-code file itself when I sliced it. Now, I did print this robot out twice, just to be sure, and the layer shift happened in exactly the same spot. So overall, I think the printer still did an amazing job, and the layer shift was more of a user error. But overall, I think the robot turned out well. As you can see, all the joints moved very nicely, and it was all printed as one piece on the print bed itself. So it's shiftable even from the hands closing, the legs moving. It's got knee joints, shoulder joints, thigh joints, and everything else. And it wobbles around with its head and is also very posable. So I think this thing turned out pretty well. Now, one thing to know if you do decide to buy this Neptune 4 Max is before you use it, you need to make sure that you have it on the correct power voltage for your location. Mine by default came preset to 230 volts. But because I'm in the US, I had to switch that to 115 volts so I wouldn't blow the power supply. So just a word of caution for those of you that are in the US or a country that does not support standard outlets using 230 volts. You might want to check and make sure you've got the right voltage. In addition to that, another tip after you unbox and set up this printer is to make sure that you remove these little plastic spacers from the bottom of the print tray itself. Now, I made the mistake of only removing the styrofoam and not noticing these spacers, which made the initial setup and bed leveling a lot more complicated. In fact, I was starting to pull out my hair trying to figure out what was wrong with the bed leveling until I noticed that these little spacers were still under the print bed. Now, what I do like about this printer, and I think is a standard for most 3D printers these days, is that it's got built-in Wi-Fi. However, I was not able to get it to print over Wi-Fi because I couldn't get the Cura software to detect the printer over wireless. Now, if you do have a solution for that, I'd love to hear it, and any recommendations you have for me to fix that issue. Now, in addition to that, there is also an issue with the print head itself, where it starts hitting and grinding when it reaches the outer edge of the horizontal bar. But apparently, that's something that can be fixed in the code or by running an update from Elegoo, which I haven't done yet. Now, that's a solution that I read on the forums, read in some posts, and also heard from other reviewers of this 3D printer. Now, another unique feature about this printer that I haven't seen on other printers is this tools and accessories tray on the front of the unit itself. Now, this to me is a great addition and something that I never thought I wanted, but absolutely needed. There's actually enough space in that tray to store all of your tools as well as printer accessories inside the tray itself. And hopefully it's something that all 3D printers are going to have going forward. Now, I briefly mentioned this before, but I'll mention again. The LCD touchscreen on this Neptune 4 Max is also incredibly responsive and super nice to look at. It's crystal clear and it's easy to navigate. I also like the fact that the screen itself, as well as the base it sits on, is magnetized, which really just helps it to stay in place and organizes the printer a lot more. Now, this Neptune 4 Max comes pre-installed with Clipper support and is equipped with a 64-bit 1.5 gig quad-core processor. It's also got this print head with a built-in dual-gear direct extruder, which is not only more efficient, but it also helps to minimize clogs. Now, the nozzle kit itself can also reach high temperatures up to 300 degrees Celsius. In addition to that, it's also got this auto bed leveling system that's very much easy and takes away any hassle for leveling your print surface. It's also got these nicely positioned LED lights here at the top, which illuminate the entire print surface of the printer itself. Now overall, I gotta say I'm very impressed with this Neptune 4 Max from Elegoo. It works amazingly well and outputs high quality prints at an amazing speed, all at a very competitive and affordable price. It's actually an amazing package that includes a good mixture of print speed and print size and raises the bar for all 3D printer solutions going forward. I've had this Neptune 4 Max for about 3 weeks now, and I'm absolutely loving the competition between 3D printer manufacturers, and I'm excited to see how fast and how far this technology will continue to grow. Now, if you want one of these for yourself, please support this channel by using my referral link in the description section below. In fact, Black Friday and the holidays are coming up, and I'll link any promotions or codes that I have below as well. Anyways, I do hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please smash that like button and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated to help me continue to grow this channel and create more videos like this. Please also make sure you ring that bell icon so you can get notified when I post new content. Now, if there is something you would like to see me attempt to print or even try out, leave me a note in the comment section below and we'll attempt it in a future video. Until next time, see ya.